Hello, AOH for Writers, Anchors of Hope for Writers. I'm Dr. Priscilla. Today is Thursday, April 11th, 2019. In just a few days, we will be concluding week 3. And I know many of you may be thinking, where has the time gone? Have I done enough? Am I enough? And the answer is yes. You have done enough, and you're still producing. This task, when I embarked upon it for myself personally, it took me 5 weeks to complete my book. The goal was for me to do it in 4 weeks. What took me 4 weeks to do, the writing, the compiling, the composing, was done. What wasn't done was the cover for my book. And I would imagine, since we haven't talked about it and we're in week 3, that is going to be something of a time-consuming effort. So I want to put that on the agenda for week 4. In week 4, I want you to start thinking about what your title of the book will look like. Will you put your picture on the front? Will you put your picture on the back? Will you even include your picture at all? These are things that you need to consider. As I look at my book, Anchors of Hope, I had several pictures that I had in my mind. I used someone online. It was $5 that person created a book cover for me, but it wasn't exactly what I felt in my spirit. It was very pretty. It was very nice. And I put it out to my friends and using social media. What did they think of the book cover? And when someone told me that it looked more like an obituary, I knew then that that was not the one that I wanted. If one person felt that it looked like an obituary, I didn't want that one. Fortunately, I have a son that had a little bit of talent, and he created this cover for me. And it simply has the title of the book, and on the back, there's an image of my mother and a prayer. Hopefully by this time, all of you have received your book. If you have not received your book, let me know, and I will send you copies of what I'm going to tell you today. So, what I'm going to tell you is this. I am going to Dubai on Monday. On Monday, we will not be able to have class. I'm hoping that the information that I will share with you at this moment will spur you into action. By having this information prior to Monday, I want you to avail yourself to ask me questions that I will be happy to answer before Monday. For those of you who want a hand copy of the same material, I will send this material to you as well. But for those of you who like the visual, here it is. And in addition to having the visual, you'll find this information under week 4 in the Facebook group. This is what we need to work on in week 4. I need to ask you to write your introduction. Write the introduction to your book. You have now worked on your book for 3 full weeks. By this time, you have worked on your book for 3 full weeks. It is for sure that you would have a really good idea as to what your book is about. So with that, you should be able to write an introduction. You will find the introduction of my book on page 10. On page 10 is the introduction of my book, and I have a picture of my mother on page 10. It is not necessary. It is not necessary to have a picture as your introduction or as a part of your introduction. Okay, that's on page 10. On page 7 is my preface. It isn't necessary to have a preface to your book. It is not necessary to have a preface to your book. I do have a preface to my book, so you can look through the preface in the book that I have, Anchors of Hope, and decide if you wish to have a preface. So that takes care of the preface and the introduction. In week 3, you wrote your dedication page if you chose to do one. It isn't necessary for you to do a dedication page either. This is what I mean by doing the research. Look at other books to see if your book is the same type of genre and what type of information would you like to use in your book that others have excluded in theirs. So you want to be one step ahead of what others are doing to entice readers to choose your book as well. Now, in week 4, we'll be working on organizing your story. You've got 3 full weeks of writing 500 words average per day under your belt. If you've written 500 words average every day and have started to go back, review, and embellish, if you will, what you've written, you still should have a substantial amount of information that will be useful in your book. For those of you who have sent me information for me to peruse, thank you so much. And I've given you my accolades and my pride that I have for what you have created thus far. I'm going to suggest that you organize your material into 4 categories. This is your book. 4 parts to your book. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4. You can actually give these parts a name if you wish to do so, or you can just call them Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4. In Part 1, you're only talking about things that are relevant to the title of your book and would be subsidiaries of the title of your book in Quadrant 1. In Quadrant 2, you would choose another segment to focus on that clearly falls under the heading of your book and would be considered subheadings in Quadrant 2. Quadrant 3, same thing. You will have subsidiaries that will fall under the heading of the title of your book. And finally, Section 4 or Quadrant 4, information that would fall nicely under the title of your book, but will be subsidiaries. All right, now that you've done that, you've got your introduction, you have your preface, you've got your 4 sections. Now we want to consider what is actually going to be the front matter. Front matter for me simply was Anchors of Hope by my name and the image of an anchor. You can, if you choose to, just use Anchors of Hope. It's totally up to you. You don't have to do that. This was an autograph book. Actually, it's to my mother. On the next page is a quote by Rosalind Carter. It's simply a quote, and it reads, "There are only 4 kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need a caregiver." That is the only thing that is on this page. The next page is your copyright page. That will be given to you by the publisher, so you don't have to worry about that, and it's a standalone sheet, but that will be given to you. It has your ISBN number. It has the date of the printing or the month and the year of the printing. You will decide if you want to give credit to someone that designed your book, designed the cover. You can see that on mine, I gave credit to my son who designed the cover of the book, but that's totally up to you. And then I immediately went into my dedication page. All right. Now that you have that, you want to think about what you want on the back cover. On the back cover, I have a picture of my mother, and I couldn't think of anything that was more deserving than having a prayer on the back. And that's what I did. I have a prayer that I wrote on the back cover. What do I need you to do next is, based upon the type of book that you're writing, you will find on Amazon, find my book. This is, again, a part of research. Find my book and look at the review that I wrote about my book. You want to write a review about your book so that others will be encouraged to read your book. In week 4, you should have enough information about your book that will encourage people to write. And usually, what entices a writer is what they read in the first 1 or 2 chapters. This is when they decide if they're going to read the rest of the book. This is a part of research. So that's on you to find out what you want to put there. Read what other people have written about their very own book. See the type of reviews that they have received for their book. If you have not written a review for my book on Amazon, I would invite you to do so today. That was hopefully part of the premise of your being in this class and purchasing my book, that you would be willing to write a review of my book. And if you're not sure what to write, you can look at what others have written about other reviews, and it will give you good practice about writing a good description for your book. And let's see. Also, if you have completed chapters 1 and 2, it's at this point you should be deciding what pictures, quotes, scripture, or anything else that you want to include in those chapters. Remember, we gathered some of that material already. So you want to start inserting this information into your book. I would like to suggest that you highlight it and put it in color if you want me to peruse it, so that I will not mistake it for your content of your book. Finally, if you're going to submit something for me to write, if you're going to submit some of your writing for me to read, please use 14-point fonts, double space, and center the topics or the chapter headings. It may not necessarily be this way when we print, but for me to read it, it just makes easy reading for me and faster reading for me than when it's small. It doesn't matter how many pages it is, how few pages it is. It's just easier for me to read in that font size. Okay, so this was a long message, but our classes are usually an hour. I hope that you find lessons or the information for week 4 beneficial, because we are ready to go from print to publish. As I said, it took me 5 weeks. At the end of week 4, your book could possibly be ready to print. What took me so long was waiting for someone to create the title, my title page. But the pages were formatted and printed. The cost to you is absolutely nothing. You only sell your book when it's printed. Now, for those of you who may not grasp as much as what I've said by reading a text, you'll find all of this that I've said in the research. There was a question about maybe why did I decide to do 100 pages? It was in the research that I did that I found that most people are writing books that are consistent with 100 pages. I don't know what reading material I read, but you can have as many pages or as few pages as you wish. The recommendation based upon my research is that it is 100 or more pages. So with that said, thank you so much for listening. I am your coach for Anchors of Hope for Writers, and I look forward to reading. Even though I'll be in Dubai, I enjoy reading, so I look forward to reading what you have written and commenting on all the posts or as many posts as I can. Until next time, I'm your sister in the journey for Anchors of Hope for Writers. Bye for now.